Everybody, welcome to the Kingdom Way. We're here today with a really special guest, someone that I met quite a while ago, a few years ago now, I think it's been. And her name is Rose Bailey. She's a carnivore. She knows her stuff. So we first met in Steak and Butter Gang. And from there, I actually had learned from her a little bit about food addiction. And right now, we're both currently involved with Joan Ifland at the Addiction Reset community. But we've found, you're going to hear from Rose, but we found that carnivore is the way to healing. Carnivore is the way to freedom, food freedom. And so let's pull right now, invite her onto the stage, Rose, and we'll have a talk about how things are going for you. So welcome, Rose. I'm so glad you're able to come in today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And kind of start with a little bit of your story. Like, how did you ever get from probably the standard American diet, I suppose, or we'd say Canadian because we're both Canadians, to, I don't know how you would say that, eh? SCD? Whatever, it's still sad. So we'll call it American, North America. How did you ever get from that to where you are today? Can you give us a brief outline of what happened?
Sure. So, I'd say about 6 years ago, um, I decided that it was finally time to lose some of the extra weight that I had gained. In my 30s, I was getting PMS pretty bad, and my doctor put me on an antidepressant, and that gave me such an appetite. It was unbelievable. And I just kept gaining weight, gaining weight, gaining weight. And I couldn't understand why I was so hungry all the time. Well, um, so when I retired, um, I decided that I would have some time to focus on my health. So I explored low carb. YouTube was starting to be a thing, right? And it was easy to kind of do your own research. So I started with low carb and I did lose some weight. And then I heard Jordan Peterson being interviewed on Joe Rogan. And then I heard his daughter, Michaela Peterson, talking about the
Yeah.
carnivore diet. And I'm like, really? You can do that? Because I love meat and I'm not real fond of vegetables, but I've been told all my life you got to eat the vegetables. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, when I heard that, my ears perked up. So that was sort of the start of it. But then I got reflux one time, sort of after a binge of cookies that I had made with margarine, and
Back in the day, right? Back in
back
the
in the
day, the
day.
margin was the thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. And anyways, I started having reflux and it was day and night, like right up there, like a 6, 7 out of 10 pain. And I thought to myself, I am not taking medication and I'm going to figure this out. So I just decided that I was going to try carnivore for the reflux. And so that's basically how I got started. Just I wanted to heal my gut.
Yeah. And reflux is so painful. I know that's one of the things I was suffering with as well. So a GERD and, and medication. Who wants to take medication? Why take medication if you don't need to? I'm not saying not to take medication, people. I'm just saying why if you don't need to, if you can change your lifestyle. So good for you, Rose, that you've taken this road. So how long has it been since you've been
Well,
on this
yeah, so
carnivore road?
yeah, I kind of started, I'd say April 2020 was when I
Okay.
got serious with carnivore. Yeah.
Yeah.
So coming up
And I think a
years.
lot of things happened during 2020, but a
Woohoo.
lot of great things happened during 2020 because people were more at home.
Yeah.
And, a lot that's, I think, where Steak and Butter Gal started. And And I think probably Joan did too, but we started to explore. The
Yes.
online community became so big and we started to learn from each other.
Yeah.
So you decided to go carnivore back in 2020. And has it been like a perfectly smooth road the whole time?
I wish I could say that, but that's not true. No,
Exactly.
no, it hasn't been. Um, but the, it just gets better and better. That's all I can say, is that it just gets easier and I get better and better.
Yeah. And can you kind of explain to us how you think you've been getting better and better?
Yeah, for sure. So, first of all, I got off my hormone therapy. I got off my antidepressants. Um, the GERD, to be honest, it's just resolved in the last, I'd say in the last 3 or 4 months. So it has been an ongoing thing. And that has been sort of what I just kept going into researching and getting on, to these groups and things to try to figure out what it was that was causing it. So that, in a sense, that motivated me to do the elimination right down to just meat and eggs. And, so I had to cut out all the vegetables, all the fruits, all the, like even coffee and spices and sparkling water, everything had to go. And if I did have that, then I'd suffer, like basically, right? So, yeah, so it was gradual, I suppose you'd say that I didn't go cold turkey because I think, well, maybe I sort of did when I made up my mind to go carnivore because I was keto before that, right? Because I would still have some vegetables. But then when I decided, boom, you know, that's it, done with that, gonna just be carnivore.
And for our viewers, I think that's very common that people would be keto first or low carb keto and then progress and kind of drop the vegetables, like what for? What am I spending money on this for kind of thing, and then go on to carnivore. But there are some people that just rip the band-aid off and they're sailing and
Yeah.
they're still sailing years later. So I
Oh, I
guess
know.
that's sort of an individual thing.
Yeah. And Kathy, in terms of the other things that, so again, my motivation was the reflux, but what I didn't know was going to happen was that my depression and anxiety went away. And I was getting some serious anxiety. And to have that gone was just like, really? Can this be true? This is really true. It happened. And yeah, so like those things, my headaches, my backaches, my rhodesia, fibrous breasts, like gone, like no lumps, like what? When I went for my mammogram and stuff, I'm like, it's gone. Like it's amazing. So I've had a lot of healing, but it's taken
Yeah, it
time.
really is.
It's taken time, That's what
Yeah.
2 years,
Well, I mean, you said
3 years.
you were retired, which is hard to believe because you look way too way too young to be retired.
I'm
But
retired from full time. I'm
it,
still working part time, but yeah.
yeah. But the thing is that for years and years and years, you were involved with all of that processed food and all of the whatever, and so that took a toll on your body. So it does take time for your body to recover. Everything doesn't fix in just one day. Even our appetites, or it's more the mental stuff, I think, right?
Yeah.
That's the struggle. So how do you deal with all the mental struggle? When you've got, especially this season, this is December of 23.
Hmm.
And so everybody's having their parties. Christmas is coming. They've got all these dainties, lots of memories associated with each one of them. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So fortunately, I did join Dr. Joan Ifland's support group that is got 16 hours of support a day, sort of thing. So I've been in that for 2 years, and there I'm learning the skills to overcome the addiction part to the processed food, to the sugars. Mostly sugars is my thing, I'd say.
Yeah.
And so I have affirmations, I eat nourishing food, um, the kinds of things to keep me on track. I use these affirmations. I do write a play so that I go into the situation with a plan in my brain. I
Mhm.
bring my own food. Um, Again, in my play, I say I'm going to focus. I can picture how I'm going to focus on the conversation, not on the food, if I'm going to a potluck or something. And I think when I go to what the pain is, because if I do go off plan, I feel it mentally. I'll go to bed and all of a sudden I'll have an anxious thought that I have not had. I have not had intrusive, anxious thoughts. And if I have a fruit, like for example, if I eat an apple, the doom and gloom that comes over me is just unbelievable. So I just don't go there. I don't even want to go there anymore. Like I don't even dabble in it anymore. So,
Yep.
and if I do, I remember, oh yeah, I don't ever want to do that again. So there's less and less time between times where I think, oh, I could just try that again. Now I've been, I've healed my gut. I should be able to try stuff. And even like a bubbly that has a flavoring in it. I tried that this summer and nope, can't do it. Cannot do it.
Yep. It's like Hippocrates said, is let food be thy medicine. And so this is exactly what carnivore is. It's medicine to our bodies, it's healing to our bodies. And you've had so much healing that's happened because of it. Do you find that you get the what you need nutritionally as far as energy and how you're feeling? Do you find that you get enough nutritionally?
Yes, I do. If I get sleep, if I can get a good night's sleep, I have energy from morning till night. If I don't
Yep.
get a good night's sleep, as we take care of and my adult son who's developmentally delayed, and sometimes he's up at night, or the dog's up, or different things can wake you up in your
Right.
family or yourself, and then I'll need a nap in the afternoon to make up for that. But if I get a good
Right,
night's
right.
sleep, I'm like, I have the energy. um, my head is clear. I don't have depression and anxiety. Like that does not keep me down. And my thoughts are positive, but I'm working on that too. I'm working on that mental piece in the sense of, doing journaling and doing writing exercises, and being aware of my thoughts and how they affect my feelings and how they affect my actions. And so this cognitive behavioral therapy that I'm doing, because I have a clear head now and I have hope
Right.
that, yeah, that I can be aware and I can change the thoughts. And yeah, so I'm working on that.
Do you feel like maybe you were an addict before, an addict to the sad diet, to some of the substances there, the foods as they call them? Do you feel like you were an addict to the sugar or to other
Yep.
products?
Yes, definitely I am. And that's the thing. I tried to do the carnivore, very strict, but what I couldn't do was stop having some sugar here and there once in a while. Like it still was calling me. And so that's why I went into the addiction reset community, because I knew that I could not do it. I was an addict, you know? So I'm aware
And
of that.
sugar,
And
of
that, yeah, sugar. I grew up in a
Yep.
Dutch family. We had
Ah,
my mom was an amazing cook and baker, and my dad had his own business. So my mom had the customers in for tea, like so all summer long. For example, we'd have tea in the morning. So I'd have sugar breakfast, right, cereal, whatever. Then at tea time, some cookies, and then at lunchtime, some dessert. Afternoon, 3 o'clock tea, supper, dessert, and evening dessert. So how could I not be?
Oh, I can identify with that. I too am from a Dutch family, and I still remember, the croquettes that we had, or halakias, or whatever it is. Like, there's so many good things, speculoos, who could turn that down?
Yeah.
All these cookies. And, you know, it's not like we don't move the same as people moved before. And the ways things were made originally are not the same as they are now. So that addiction can really take a hold. And as you were sharing, it's really about the mind. So now you're setting your mind in the right direction. You're working on the cognitive behavioral therapy, really, on yourself
Yeah.
with all these skills that you're developing, which is fantastic, because nobody is going to work our recovery but ourselves.
Yeah.
Every decision, and now that you're eating meat, you're eating carnivore, you can actually use your frontal lobe. You can actually think and stay calm, right? The
Yes.
brain likes to be calm.
Yes.
Yeah, you can definitely see that. So on your carnivore journey now, what you're eating,
Mm-hmm.
do you include any spices at all?
No, I just have salt. I don't even
Just
have
salt.
pepper.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't want to
Yeah.
go down that road with my reflux. Even though I'm better now, I wanted to be used to simple meat and salt. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and be
And
satisfied. I
be
don't need
satisfied. Yeah.
anything. I don't need anything fancy.
So as far as meat, do you lean towards certain kinds of meat? Do you only eat ruminant animals, or do you
No, I
have
eat it all.
variety? Or
I eat it all.
okay.
Yeah, I have the cow. I buy a cow from a farmer in southwestern Ontario. I buy a pig from my area in Parry Sound area, and chickens from the farmer, and eggs when I can. And then I buy salmon and chicken wings, and that's mostly what I eat. And so, I mean, the cow has so many different cuts. The pig has so many different cuts. And I just change it up. Like,
Absolutely.
I just have a variety. I cook a roast probably 3 times a week. And then I'll do either the pork roast or a beef roast. And then I'll have, in the summertime, I have the steaks, and I have, bacon, sausage, side pork. Yeah, different cuts of chicken, whatever, sometimes on whatever's on sale, right? Just to have a little variety. I find for myself, I need variety of the meats. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
And is your family carnivore?
Well, my youngest son and his wife and 3 children, they're age 6 and under, and they're carnivore. But my immediate
Wow.
family, my son and husband, are not. No.
Yeah. So did you kind of set the way, and it was a ripple effect, or how did that work?
Yes, I'd say so. Yep, I introduced my son he's interested in health too, and his wife, and so they were having some health issues, and they thought, why not? And they listened to some videos, and they were convinced that the science is there enough, like people are getting healed, and so they dove right in, and they are so good at it. Like, they're strict, very strict. With the children, the children, that's what's so amazing, is that it's simple, right? This is what we're having for dinner. There's no, like, I mean, my daughter-in-law is really good at giving them what they like, and making it a bit fun for them. And
Hmm. Hmm.
she might do a little bit of like a cloud crust pizza, for example, to send to the school, right? Like stuff like that, with a little bit of tomato sauce
Right.
on it or something. But
Right.
generally, it's carnivore. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found any friends or anyone else that's kind of watching you, thinking, "Huh, if I should try that," or have they tried it?
So I wouldn't say any of my friends are really wanting to dive in. especially the ones that are addicted to sugar. They're like, what? You don't eat sugar? You know, like that's their whole life. And there is a few people that I've found in my church that have gone unbeknownst to me. They went down their own kind of path. Although, no, I shouldn't say that, because I actually think it was because I was at a potluck, and the gentleman, he's like, I think I might want to try that. And his wife has come along with him. So, yeah, so there's not many in our town, but I know a few.
Now that's the thing, eh? Because
Yeah.
people watch what you do, and when they see all these improvements, then they kind of like, maybe I ought to give it a try. I mean, at some point, that's exactly what you did. Watch, right? When you were watching Joe Rogan there and the Petersons, and you're like, maybe this is something I should try. Sounds weird, but who knows, right?
Yeah.
So when you first started, can you go back to that time? And did you have any effects in your body that were negative?
Not really. What I thought was strange was that I went to the washroom so much less. And that was the other thing. I had irritable bowel, and I had more tending to be the constipated. And then that
Mhm.
resolved as well. But I just didn't go to the washroom as often. Like, that was kind of weird. But if all the nutrients are being, absorbed, there isn't that, and there isn't all of this fiber that I have to get out. It makes sense that there would not be as much.
Yeah, it certainly does. I mean, if you're using up what you're eating, because if you think of it, so you eat a bunch of vegetables, so you want to make sure you have all that fiber. And this is maybe a little bit of TMI, but you look in the toilet and it's like, there's that cob of corn, right? There's that whatever. And you can see all this bulk or the bran or whatever it is. Not only is it irritating to our systems, to our digestive system, it actually does cause problems like IBS and the constipation or the runs. Did you yeah, so I can see that you're using it up, and you also don't have as much waste. So bowel movements for many people on carnivore, it's not as frequent. So and then that's normal. That's quite normal. And did you have any troubles with headaches when you started, or anything along that line?
No, I don't think so. I don't recall having headaches.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So if somebody was to consider doing carnivore, trying it. Now, January is World Carnivore Month. That was started, I
Yes.
believe, by Sean Baker. And there's so many great things happen in January. It's a good time. Everybody wants to start anew and start fresh. And Ken Berry, Dr. Ken Berry, he has that beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. And he says add maybe some sardines with that. But so doing a challenge. So supposing somebody wanted to do a challenge and go carnivore just for 1 month.
Hmm.
I mean, who can't do 1 month in January? What would you recommend? What would for them to start that? Like, do you
Yeah.
have any ideas that might help them?
Well, I would definitely say make sure you eat enough, because you don't get as hungry, for sure. So, you have to eat enough to keep your energy up, and fatty meat. So keep the the fat on the meat, and yeah, have lots of variety. And if you're not going to go gradual, like, I don't know if it's sometimes, I don't know if everybody could do it really without going gradual. I don't know. Again, you have to know yourself if you could do this. I really think that. But uh yeah, that's what I would say. Just eat enough, because I know some people think they're not used to eating that much meat. And I would say I ate, you know, probably 2.5 pounds a day or something, and so a good portion of in the morning, like for example, I'll have a half a pound of hamburger and 2 eggs,
Mhm.
no problem, you know, and a big steak at supper, and probably 2 pounds of wings, like that's, and so depending on your physical activity and your age and all of these things are, part of what you would consider. But yeah, I would just say make sure you eat enough.
Yeah, for sure. That's good advice because it's true. It quenches your appetite, and then you may not be eating enough. And to include that fatty, the fat that comes naturally with the meat, and maybe even adding some more, especially if it's something that's lean, and maybe especially at the beginning. But you also mentioned that you use salt. So you
Mhm.
do salt your meat. You just salt to taste, I assume.
Yep.
And do you think that somebody that's first starting, that salt is really important, or that maybe what about electrolytes, other electrolytes like potassium or
Yeah.
magnesium?
My understanding is that some people do need that because you're not eating the processed foods anymore. Like you'd be stopping that. And so if you get some electrolytes, I didn't do that. I don't take that. I just have the salt. So, um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And there's definitely some that don't need to at all, some that don't even use salt because there is basically enough that's within the animal when you're eating it.
Hmm.
But so if there are anything else that you could share with somebody that was going to start brand new, January, they're going to give this a try, the month of January. Anything else you could say to them to get them going on the right road?
Yeah. You know what? I think if you can just listen to the different videos to help you, really solidify that this is going to help you heal, to keep in mind that you're doing this to heal your body. So, I'd be watching the videos that, Sean Baker, Judy Cho, Kelly Hogan, um, Bart K, Lisa Wilderman. Like there's a lot of carnivore voices out there. And I think just to get educated, educate yourself a little bit about it. If you,
Yeah,
yeah, so support I think is important, and it's different, right? So, but just again, you're nourishing your body. So maybe again, the affirmation, I nourish my body for to heal my mind and soul and body, like, right? So it's, you have to have your
yeah.
why.
You have to have your why for sure. So why do you even want to do this? I mean, if you're feeling fantastic right now in whatever you're doing, okay. If your blood work, everything's good, you're all good, why bother?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
maybe you want to just try because sometimes we don't even know what good is until we get there.
Exactly.
Because we think, oh, this is good. I'm feeling fantastic. But maybe that's fantastic to now. But when you start to clear off even more, um, the last vegetable or whatever it is, then you may feel even better.
Mhm.
So some of us
Yes.
don't even know how good feels. I really like all those doctors that you mentioned. They're fantastic. Dr. Lisa Weideman, who is an eye doctor, Dr. Ovadia, you didn't mention, but he's a heart doctor. Dr. Kiltz, reproduction. Bart K, you can't beat him if nothing else. He's a brilliant mind, but he's good for a laugh too. So there's just so many that are out there. It's just endless. And so we can't really name them all here. Now, just a couple more things. Do you have any favorite carnivore recipes?
No. I don't do recipes anymore. I just cook my meat. Seriously.
Yeah.
I love the simplicity. A barbecue, I put my steaks or in wintertime, I'll put them in the air fryer, my chicken wings, and roast. Okay, so I wrote my roast is a small 3-pound roast, for example, in a small roast pan. You do it at 450 for about 45 minutes, then turn the oven off for 2 hours, and your roast is just delicious. So
Yeah.
that's my little secret is do it at high heat. It just makes it so beautifully brown, and then let it, again, let it sit. Depending on the size of your roast, you might do
Yeah.
it longer. But yeah, and then just turn the oven, let it sit, and it is juicy and tender, beautiful. I do that with pork. I do that with a chicken, like a whole chicken, same kind of thing, 450. Just cook it, and then till it's nice and brown, turn it off and let it sit, and it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, if anybody is listening and they want to try recipes, there are a couple of great places to go. One would be, of course, the Ketogenic Woman, who is now carnivore. She has fantastic carnivore recipes. One of them that I really like there is the bread that she makes. It's a meat bread where you actually boil the ground turkey or chicken or pork. And yeah, so that's an interesting one to look up if anyone's interested in that. And then Maria Emmerich. Maria Emmerich also has gone carnivore and has a lot of great recipes there. And my particular favorite is the Power Bowl by Homestead How. Easy, easy. All that is you chop up your bacon. You can cook it if you want, Ken Berry's way, which is you just basically chop it up and just stir up. But then throw into there your ground beef, cook that up, a little brown, a little crispy. Throw in some eggs to soak up that fat because you want to get the fat in there and enjoy. So
Yeah,
that's kind of where that's my favorite.
that's about basically what I have in the morning. But see,
Yeah.
I can't have the rendered fat. So I can't,
Oh,
for my reflux, I cannot have rendered fat. I found that out.
okay. And I'm glad you shared that because it shows the uniqueness for each one of us. And everyone needs to sort of discover what works for them, what doesn't work for them. And although you might see somebody that's online and they're doing carnivore a certain way, that doesn't mean that that's Rose Bailey's way or my way. Everyone has some uniqueness about them. And so being accepting of each other in the carnivore community, some will even have a little coffee, some will have a little butter, some will not have butter, they'll only have ghee. And the list kind of goes on salt, no salt, but whatever works for your body. And, Dr. Chaffee would probably recommend just remnant meat, water, give it a try.
Mhm.
We've all got things to try. And in the ARC, the addiction reset community, what we call that is totters. We try it. We observe, how does our body react? How do we feel? How's our mind working? How's the clarity? How are our muscles, our joints, and so on? We just observe it. We'll talk about it. And then we tweak it and just enjoy repeating it slowly. So before we leave today, do you have any last minute comments you want to share, first of all?
I was just thinking it might be helpful to do a journal, like a food journal, if you were going to, do it. Just like you say, to sort of keep track of what you're trying and what's working and what's not. That's what I did, to try and
Yeah.
discover what was working for me. So,
Yeah. And people could do that, with just a habit tracker. They could do that in a journal, like you said. They could do it online with one of these apps. So many ways that just really being aware of what's happening, how you're feeling, that awareness is key. And
Kathy, I was thinking, oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
go ahead.
No,
No,
I
go
was
ahead.
I was just thinking about how I've had friends say, aren't you ever going to go back to, like, now you've done this, you're done this, you're better. Aren't you going to go back to eating vegetables and fruit and that kind of thing? And I said, you know what? I have no desire. I have no desire to not to go there because I want to keep feeling this way. And I enjoy it. I love my meat, and it's so simple. It's just a very simple way of living, and it is now my lifestyle. It's not a diet.
Yeah, good point. It is not a diet. It is a lifestyle. We're not doing this to fit into a certain dress. We're doing this for our mental health, our emotional health, our hormonal health, life itself. And
Yes.
so when I think of life, I think of the author and finisher of our life, the one that holds our life in his hands. And that would be God himself. So I know that you and I are a believer in Jesus Christ. And I'm just wondering if there might be a scripture that kind of speaks to you in regards to this.
Well, there's one that um, is very precious to me. It's Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving. Present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And that has been a promise that I hang on to because, when you are an anxious person, and God promises to give me peace, but he wants me to be grateful. He wants me to bring everything to him and trust him. So I believe God has brought me to this place. He brought me to Carnivore and healed me. And I have to do my part, and I'm doing that, and he's doing his part.
Yeah, I believe the same. I really do. And I thank you for coming today and sharing your life with the world. And you're helping somebody else on their road to recovery, their road to carnivore, their road to better health and vitality with meat and Jesus. That's the
Right.
kingdom way.
That's right.
All right.
Thank you for having me, Kathy. It's been great.
Yeah.